What's up, guys? Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024. That feels so weird to say that. Bitcoin's block height is 824,046. And we are going to react to Matthew Kratter from Bitcoin University's video about the Bitcoin bull run of 2024. He makes some interesting points. So let's take a look and see what the man has to say.
This is Matthew Kratter from Bitcoin University, and today I wanted to talk about Bitcoin's huge bull run, which I think is coming in 2024. There are a number of catalysts for this massive Bitcoin bull run that I expect to see. The first one, it's a big election year in the US and elsewhere. Politicians everywhere will spend a lot, and central bankers will cut rates to juice the economy going into these elections. Election years are actually never years of belt tightening or austerity, and the rates market is already pricing in some huge Fed rate cuts, as we're going to see in a minute. And I don't believe that these rate cuts have been fully priced into assets like stocks or Bitcoin yet. The current Fed funds rate is between 5.25, 5.25, and 5.50, 550 basis points. And if we look at what the Fed futures market is expecting for the end, where this rate is going to be by the end of 2024, December 18th, 2024, we can see that the market is projecting some serious rate cuts, 3 or 4 50 basis point rate cuts that would bring Fed funds down to 350 to 375 or 375 to 400, some bets even as low as 325. So this is definitely heading into the phase of the loosening cycle. More catalysts for a massive Bitcoin bull run in 2024. Of course, the Bitcoin halving is coming in 2024 when the block subsidy, the minor block subsidy, will drop from 6.25 Bitcoin to 3.125 Bitcoin. And that will actually give Bitcoin an annual inflation rate, in other words, supply increase rate less than that of physical gold.
All right, so if you're new to Bitcoin, let's catch you up. The now infamous stock to flow model is this colorful chart right over here that was released back in March 2019 by the pseudonymous Plan B. He's a Dutch institutional investor with a legal and quantitative finance background, and the model has been remarkably accurate. It attempts to forecast the value of Bitcoin based on the stock to flow ratio, which is the amount of Bitcoin in the existing stockpile divided by its yearly production. It essentially quantifies the relationship between the relative scarcity of Bitcoin and the price of the asset, and the higher the stock to flow, the harder the money, and Bitcoin is getting increasingly harder. So let's run the ratio. Bitcoin has a stock of about 18.8 million coins, and around 900 are mined per day, which is a little under 330,000 Bitcoins per year. That gives us a stock to flow of about 57.2, which ranks Bitcoin just below gold, at least for now.
People always argue that the halving is priced in. I remember this well from 2020, but it never really is. Unlike every other commodity, higher Bitcoin prices do not bring about a supply increase, and this is important to understand. So for example, when corn prices spike, everyone plants corn on every inch of their property and farms, thus producing a mega harvest that year and driving prices back down. But higher prices do not change Bitcoin's emission schedule or maximum total supply. Unlike corn, you can't just go out and plant some more Bitcoin plants just because the price has spiked. After the halving, the amount of new Bitcoin mined daily, regardless of price, regardless of Bitcoin's price, will drop from 900 new Bitcoin issued every day to 450 Bitcoin issued every day. This is what the halving is. And most serious hodlers simply won't be selling any Bitcoin at a price less than $1 million per Bitcoin. So there's a real supply shock coming. We hodlers are ruthless. We keep draining the supply away from the market and locking it up in cold storage. That's what you and I have been doing for the past 2 years since the bear market started. And now with the halving, there's going to be even less new Bitcoin mined every day for hodlers to take down and for institutions to take down as well.
He's absolutely right. I'm a hodler. I'm definitely not selling mine. I'll never sell my Bitcoin. And even through the bear market of 2022 and part of 2023, because I started buying in 2021, the more I learn, the more I hold. And with these two big events coming up this year, with the spot Bitcoin ETF being a demand shock, and then the halving being a supply shock, my goodness, man. We're going to see a supply and demand shock in an asset that we've never seen before. And I'll touch on this in upcoming videos.
If you want to get an idea of the approximate timing of the halving, it of course depends on what block times are. So block times come in on average every 10 minutes, but they can vary. There is some variance. And so if you are projecting a block time of 9 minutes on average, the halving will come fairly early, April 11th. If its block time is closer to 11 minutes, the halving will be on May 3rd. 10-minute block times on average will get us to April 22nd. So I would say sometime middle of April to end of April is when we would expect to see the halving next year. So more catalysts for a massive Bitcoin bull run in 2024. Of course, the spot Bitcoin ETFs from BlackRock and others. And I think people always underestimate the power of institutional mandates, restrictions, and legitimacy when it comes to institutional investors. Pensions, hedge funds, other institutional players have very strict mandates that restrict what assets they can hold. Many of them are still not allowed to buy a digital commodity like Bitcoin directly, or are restricted from using certain types of custodians, either explicitly or through company culture. But all of them can hold an ETF like IBTC, which is the expected ticker for BlackRock Spot ETF. All of them can hold an ETF that trades on a regulated U.S. stock exchange like the NASDAQ. This is very similar to the gold ETF, where a lot of institutions were not allowed to actually own physical gold, and there are problems, of course, always with storing gold, but all of them could own GLD. And this was one reason that gold had such a big run after 2005, approximately when that ETF was approved. And I think we're going to see something very similar, but much bigger with the BlackRock and other spot Bitcoin ETFs.
Exactly. The two major differences, like you said, between the gold ETF and the Bitcoin ETF is, number one, they don't really hold the gold, guys. My precious metal stackers, you already know, it's very, very manipulated. It's not like they have the gold sitting there in a vault and then they give out paper ETFs versus how many ounces of gold there are. That's number one. But number two, the supply of Bitcoin. Again, guys, we don't know how many ounces of gold are there in the world. We just don't. With Bitcoin, everybody knows there's only 21 million. So again, they actually hold the Bitcoin, the spot ETFs they do, and they don't hold the gold. And the supply is very, very limited. Again, the stock to flow ratio is much, much different between gold and Bitcoin. Again, I'm not trying to knock on gold. I love it. But Bitcoin, the Bitcoin spot ETF, guys, is much, much different.
BlackRock entering the space completely legitimizes Bitcoin for traditional finance players, while also destroying the ESG, FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt that surrounds Bitcoin, since BlackRock has been one of the main proponents of ESG. So you can't exactly argue at this point that Bitcoin is anti-ESG if you have its biggest proponent putting out an ETF. BlackRock's authority gives your financial advisor cover as well for recommending an allocation to Bitcoin, as well as that instrument to carry out that allocation, which is, of course, the ETF. So the next time your drunken uncle at Thanksgiving, who has his pension managed by BlackRock, tells you that Bitcoin is a quote-unquote scam, you can ask him why his pension provider, BlackRock, is promoting this particular scam, and he probably, like always, will have nothing to say. Institutional investors, financial advisors are all sheep when it comes down to it. They'll be buying and encouraging their clients to buy Bitcoin or the Bitcoin ETFs after discouraging their clients from buying Bitcoin for the first 15 years of its existence. But now they will be getting on board. And as Bitcoin's price appreciates, this will become a self-feeding fire that draws in speculators and pumps Bitcoin's price much higher than you might think it could go. We didn't get a blow-off top in the last cycle, but we did in 2017. So I think we skipped a cycle here. I think this time we will see a blow-off top where the price accelerates markedly near the end of the move before crashing back down. So we could see Bitcoin's price do a face-melting pump at the end of this bull market move, probably sometime in 2025, mid to late 2025. If the cycle repeats, of course it doesn't have to repeat. But if it does repeat, we'll get a face-melting rally, and then Bitcoin will crash down again. Maybe it'll crash down to $80,000 from $400,000. Everyone will tell you that Bitcoin is dead again, and we'll have to go through this whole cycle again. Or history may not repeat. We may melt up to $500,000 and beyond and never look back. So either way, that is why we hodl. It would actually be quite tragic to have held on to Bitcoin this long and then sell at what we think is a local top, only to see Bitcoin never come back down again and go on to trade in the millions. So don't try to trade Bitcoin. Try to dollar cost average into it and focus on holding it securely, and focus on mining more fiat, earning fiat, or mining Bitcoin or purchasing Bitcoin to get more Bitcoin. This is the real game, not trying to time the market. Markets are usually micro efficient, but not macro efficient in my experience. I'm talking about the market efficiency hypothesis here. For example, the gold ETF was not priced in. The great financial crisis and the housing bubble collapse was not priced in. The Bitcoin 2016 halving was not priced in. The 2020 halving was not priced in. And I would maintain here that the 2024 halving is also not priced in. The spot Bitcoin ETFs are not priced in either.
I have to say I slightly disagree with that last part about the spot Bitcoin ETF not being priced in. I believe it is slightly, not, of course, not fully. I believe if Bitcoin didn't have a spot ETF, I think the price would be anywhere between 27 and 33,000. So I believe it is priced in about 15, 13, 14, 15,000. So I have to slightly disagree with that part.
If markets were truly smart and efficient and forward-looking, Bitcoin would already be at $1 million per coin. So nothing is priced in yet. We're only at $40,000 or wherever we are. On top of all of these positive catalysts, Bitcoin sentiment today is surprisingly cautious and conservative. People are still licking their wounds from the bear market. People like me who were calling for $200,000 Bitcoin in the last bull run have been chastened and may be less willing to stick our necks out this time, though I am sort of sticking my neck out again foolishly and talking about prices like 400,000, 500,000. Again, these are not price targets. I won't be selling at those prices. I'll continue to hodl, but I think we could get definitely into that realm. And there's a chance we go to $1 million per Bitcoin in 2024 or 2025. It's actually not that far away. And combined with all these positive catalysts, sentiment is markedly less bullish now than it was in 2020. So lots of huge positive catalysts plus neutral to bearish sentiment are the recipe for an absolutely face-melting rally for Bitcoin in 2024. Either way, 2024 is going to be another amazing year for Bitcoin and Bitcoiners. The best is yet to come. Dump your ship coins, dump your fiat, and join the winning team while you still can. Bitcoin will always be here, of course, but if you're holding ship coins or fiat, you might not be here. The time is coming when people won't ask how much a Bitcoin costs, but instead they'll ask how can they get their hands on a few sats at any price. And as I've said before on this channel, how do you price a cup of water in a remote desert? This is exactly what Bitcoin is in a world of CBDCs. It's a glass of freedom water when everyone else is drinking CBDC, central bank sewage. So how do you price a cup of water in a remote desert? How do you price it in CBDs or fiat? You don't, because it's priceless. Its price is too high to even talk about.
There you have it, guys. I couldn't agree more, man. The reason why I reacted to that video, because I did the video the day before about giving my price predictions, which were obviously a lot less than Matthew Kratter's from Bitcoin Universities. But hey, everybody's got their reasons. And also I didn't price in the part where they talked about the interest rates and everything. But yeah, like I said in the other video, Bitcoin is something that people look at in the future and say, wow, why didn't I get my hands on it? But again, we won't be pricing things in Bitcoin. We'll be pricing things in Satoshis, like you said. And I'm going to be talking more about that over the next few days, because again, it's not too late, guys. This is the first time in history that we can front run the institution and stuff like that with a spot ETF. You know what I mean? Because normally, you can't do that. They already can buy it, or they have some kind of insider trading knowledge that we don't, but now we can do that. And they can't buy until A, the spot Bitcoin ETF is approved, or B, their customers start buying it. You know what I mean? And they have to have the Bitcoin. And I'm going to tell you right now, guys, there's not a lot of Bitcoin on the exchange. And I had somebody yesterday under my comment section ask me, hey, Jerry, how do you buy Satoshis? Well, here's how you do it. Just go to any exchange, preferably a Bitcoin only one, guys. We don't want to support the shitcoin stuff here, and I'll explain that in other videos. We want to keep it all Bitcoin. Again, and I'll explain that later. You want to use a Bitcoin only exchange. I have a link down below if you want to get $10 free of Bitcoin or Satoshis with Swan Bitcoin. So they're pretty cool. But again, you don't have to do it with my link. You can go anywhere. Cash App, like I said, Swan. There's all kind of Bitcoin only companies that you can buy it from. And again, if you can get 1 million Satoshis right now, guys, for $400 something. And I got a funny feeling these prices are never going to be this low in fiat terms. I'm just saying. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Again, guys, thank you so much. If you want to help support the channel, the link's in the description box if you want to donate. Again, all donations will go towards giving away Satoshis and helping waking people up. Because, again, I'm taking the whole year off of 2024. And I'm fighting for freedom and sovereignty. And I believe the only way to do that is waking these people up, letting them know about what's going on with the politics and the money and things like that. Because if you fix the money, you fix the world. I truly, truly believe that. So again, if you guys want to help out with the channel, click the links below and it'll definitely help. And I really appreciate it. All right. I love each and every one of you. And I'll talk to you soon. Peace and love, guys.